This is just AMZN for Friday, July 16th, 2021. So I'm zoomed out, taking a look at Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I just wanted to point this out because we talked about it quite a bit on Wednesday that we had this open, it broke down, retested, and then ended up going lower, only to recover, got back above. But really the focus I wanted to get at is the open. Um, so the next day we gapped up, we broke down, came right back up to that same level, and then went lower, and then lower still. So Wednesday and Thursday were really similar in that way. And then for Friday, we actually did something different. So obviously we have a bullish candle opening up, but we didn't do any of the same retesting. We put in this bullish candle, all those people were trapped, immediately took them out, never got back up to this same level. Actually, never even got back to the 21 until way over here. Um, yeah, just something to kind of look at when it's, I guess, when it's moving in the same direction, we're kind of trending. And obviously the 21 isn't what's trending. It's just the overall looking at, on the daily, that we're just continuing to go, sideways to down. Wednesday and Thursday were kind of the days that it's like, okay, this could actually break down. We're sitting right on the 21, or I'm sorry, on the 5 again, broke down. And then here we are Friday, really not getting much recovery. One bullish candle, 5-minute candle, is all that made up that wick, and then just lower the rest of the day, basically, or at least the rest of the morning. Then it went sideways. So a couple hours down, and then just sideways the rest of the day. So just looking at the open, seeing that we had a retest, we had another retest, and then the retest was, I mean, this was the only retest candle. We didn't actually come back up to that same level. What is interesting is, zooming into the day here, the only like sustained buying we had was 25 minutes of buying right here, and it just went sideways. That's an inverted hammer. We didn't even get above that candle. It did not look good. But there wasn't that much further to go down from there, actually. So we've gone down for so many days in a row. It's like, oh, we should be settling out here. Well, no, we just continued on lower, and then went sideways. Didn't really. Well, we did end up going. Let's see, did we go down at the end of the day? I think we made it a new low at the end of the day. 35.72 is the low here, and 35.70. 46 and 57. Yeah. Okay. So we made a new low on the day right at the end of the day. So that's why there's not really much of an upper or much of a lower wick here. So zooming back out, looking at the daily, just Friday, and then looking at some options. One thing I noticed on this one is just there's an unusual spike in these volumes. I don't know yet at all what that means, or will we ever find out? I don't know. We had some spikes in volume early on in the day. There was a lot of contracts. There was like 4,000 contracts traded in this 5-minute period. Well, this is something expiring the same day. When you're still a week out, like this one, the 23rd, and you're seeing this volume, maybe it means something. So we'll keep an eye on that. We can look at maybe something comparable. The 23rd, let's see if we go out 3,400 put. Do we see some volume spikes? Yeah, there's some. There's a couple in here. Not quite as big. This one is 288. This was, yeah, 1,700. So maybe we're a little further out here. Let's go with 3,450. No, still not really seeing the spikes. Not there, at least. 3,500, that's a nice round number. There's a spike towards the end of the day. That's still only 305. So something's got this spiking here at 3,700. If we look at maybe 3,800, are we going to see the same thing? Yeah, there's some unusual spikes at 3,800. So I don't know if this just means that somebody's hedging or somebody is really getting ready for an explosive move back up. No idea. But I just thought it was really interesting seeing some of these spikes, in a couple of these $100 strikes with a week to go. So 3,700, 3,800. Let's see if 3,600. This is already more expensive. Yeah, 3,600. Same thing. Same 5-minute candles, right? So 855, 920, and 230, 240. It's all happening at the same time, right? I don't know what that means. Just wanted to point it out here because I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. 855, 920, 450. So there's something going on. I don't know if that's set times that institutions do things. I have no idea. So we'll just keep an eye on it. Can glean anything from it. If I go back to, actually, let me go back to this 3,600 because this one got really in the money. Oops, too far. So, I love looking for the $10 buy, and it came in right here to 10 bucks, but it was a little bit earlier than I'm looking, and it wasn't way down at overbought. And so I think it was really risky to put on a trade here, buying at 10. It would have worked, but this is not what I would have been getting set up, even right at the 10 o'clock hour, to be buying at 10. If I was playing it aggressively, maybe, but I would have had to been on a smaller time frame. At this point, it's actually, really close to overbought instead of oversold. The smallest candle you had before that was this one that was almost a $2 risk. So even bracketing this candle, you would have been waiting quite a bit, waiting up at like 11 with a stop down at 9. So that's too big of a risk. That's too big of a risk for me. So so from that, you got to go a little further away. So just seeing something like that setting up, you can move out a little bit. I just went the wrong way. I have to go to 35 because this is this week's expiration. So 35.50, and you can see, okay, we got some overbought. I'm sorry, we got some oversold down here right in the 10 o'clock hour. But this is so inexpensive, you don't expect it to have a big enough move. So then it's like, okay, well, let's go to 35.75. Well, that one doesn't exist. There's not a strike every 5 in this case. So maybe 35.80 would be somewhere kind of near the middle. So this is how I got to this, just looking at things after, after everything was done from Friday. And here we are with a candle that's a little closer to $1, but still bigger than that. We're closer to oversold. We do give ourselves another opportunity to get back at this lower price, and that's right in line with some of these earlier lows without taking out like this big candle. So this is something maybe you could have been setting up, like buying at 4 and a stop at 3. I think it's still putting that risk out there a little bit, because having $100 risk at this point where it could easily just flash down to 3 and you're out, and I've been flashed out of those. It wasn't quite all the way down to overbought. I'm sorry, I keep saying the wrong thing. It wasn't all the way down to oversold here. And at this point on these candles, it was actually nearer to overbought than it was to oversold. So again, this is not something I would have been looking to get in. Like I would have been looking at something later where you got kind of this, like I've talked about, like a double bottom kind of shape. But this one didn't even do like a dip back down or retest, not till over here, which that would have been a great place to be buying, right? Buy for $2, sell it at 10. That's 8R. That would have worked on a Friday. But looking at some of these earlier setups, I mean, you could have been getting in before a run, but you're buying a low. You're basically buying at $4, hoping it goes higher, and it did. But I don't see something really clearly setting up here. You do have some smaller candles later, like $100 risk candles here. You could have really bracketed this one. This is a nice small hammer, and gotten in. The high here is 450, so setting it up to buy at 450, by 350, that actually would have worked really nicely. Even would have filled over further over here, just playing this kind of double bottom shape. But then from 450, 8 hours would have been 1250. It never got there. Didn't even get that high. 1250 would have been tough just because you already saw this upper wick didn't come in. So this would have been more of a, what can I scalp out of this? And even if you had gotten in here at 450 and held on, even for 2 hours, it would have been 650. if you're not getting out here and then it comes all the way back to break even, you would have been kicking yourself, right? That it's like, oh, and not even just break even, but back, negative. And then at the first chance you get to get out positive, you just kind of scalp out maybe half an hour, maybe less than that, just to be out of it. So that's the kind of thing. It's like, did you give up getting 2 hours up here just to hold looking for more? Well, yeah, but how much further up would it have gone? It didn't keep moving up into these wicks. And this is just, how these things move on expiration day. You got to be in the right option. And so, like, I don't know if this was the right option. We can go another $10 closer and see, what shaped up better. You've got the same thing with, getting in at the lows here, getting in around 6 with a stop down at 5. Again, I think that's a little bit risky to do. Don't quite have it down at overbought. Kind of got in there later, but this now doesn't have that kind of double bottom shape that dips back down here, and definitely doesn't have, the other dip after that. This is a better hammer candle here, but it's a 2-hour range candle. So, depending on your risk tolerance, you could go for something like this, but with $100 risk, I'm not going to get into this option at this price. But this one did end up having like a better move up. So if somebody did buy at, let's say 9, and then you're looking for an 8-hour target, so that's 17. Let's see, it did actually touch 17 somehow here. But that, 8 hours would have been buying at 9 and a stop at 8. I would have been stopped out over in here. It wouldn't have worked for me with $100 risk. So buying part of the way down into this hammer, maybe like middle of the hammer would have been right around 750. This low was exactly 750. I don't know if that would have worked. Sometimes I'll look for a pullback into the range of something else, as long as I can get the low. As long as I can get my stop below the low. So even doing 750 by 650, that would have, felt a little too close for me because it's right there. It just happened. So I don't know that I would have set this one up either. And then like I said, I don't think we have the 5 strikes. Yeah, so we don't have 85. Seems like right in there would be kind of a sweet spot. If we go the other way down to 35.70, then yeah, this is one where you've got just some lower prices. You did end up having an okay move, not quite 8 hours. You could have maybe bought at 3. You're looking for 11 then. But that's still really a good move. Like you can buy at 3 and just scalp out at some of these highs around like 5 or 6, somewhere in here. But that's still only 2-3 hours, something like that. So this current week, trading the same day of expiration is always riskier. If we look at, go out a little bit, look at 3,500. No, this was one that was more expensive, 34.50. It just doesn't move as well. If we go out another week, to the 30th, so now this is the end of the month, and price is still high, and the volume completely drops off. Oh, you know what? I think this is after. Is this after earnings? I think earnings are coming up towards the end of July, so maybe that's part of why we're not seeing much happening here. So yeah, because that's why that's got to be that. There's got to be earnings. Let's go back and see. Do we have earnings? It's not on here. Oh wait. Is that? Yeah, we do have earnings. Okay, so we have earnings right at the end of the month. So that's going to skew things. That's definitely going to skew things in the next couple weeks. I may not put a trade on at all the last week of July, just because it gets kind of crazy right there, and I don't want to have to be trying to find. Well, I'll still see. I may be looking for something, but it'll be a much quieter week. I'll do some earnings coverage stuff, talk about that this coming week, but I may take the last week of July off just to, not be roped into any of the earnings stuff and then pick it back up in August. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do. So anyway, there are some ways to play this earlier in the day, but most of the move earlier in the day, I'm not trading before 10. So that really leaves just from like 10 o'clock to 50 to get that, to capture that move. Otherwise, you're looking for, shorting a high up here, like a previous high, and seeing that roll down. But then that really paused over here. Looks like it's going to rally and then stops dead in its tracks and goes back down. So there were a couple opportunities to go bearish at these highs. And it's interesting. All of them were kind of retesting the earlier low in the day at like 35.90 or so, 35.92, somewhere in there. So if you just look at where I've got, the cursor here. So we touched it kind of now we won't call that. One time right in the 21, second time, kind of a third time. So those were good places to be shorting it. So, or getting into puts, but finding the right put, I think, was the real challenge. So let me go back to this week's. The 3,600, I think, nope, not 3,600, meant 3,500. Oh, I did mean 3,600. I am really sorry. I'm all over the place. This just got really expensive to close. At right at the open, it was really inexpensive, but they're just playing it off of the previous 2 days opens. You wouldn't have known to get in down here. You would have been looking for that deeper pullback, and then you don't get it. You look for, okay, what am I holding? And eventually seeing, oh, here's my $10 price. That's the only thing that this setup has going for it, because it's early for me. It's not overbought. I keep saying right. It's not oversold. It just didn't set up. The only other thing was that we had 5 bearish candles in a row here, which were 5 bullish candles in a row on the 5-minute stock. Actually, you had that again here. That's interesting. What was going on there? No, that was just this rally. It's like these 5 candles were somehow bullish, or I'm sorry, somehow bearish on the put, but there was a mix of them here. This got really, really overbought and spiked way up. Not necessarily obvious it would roll over right here, but I mean, this kind of a spike that you would expect to kind of plateau if it would hold a little bit. It definitely didn't do that. I think we saw that happen earlier back over here. Yeah, where we ran up, we spiked, and we just kind of drifted up to sideways while we went up to sideways here. We dipped and didn't even come back to the line for overbought, and then went on back up. So that was into the all-time high. That's what that looked like. We've done some different things like that where we spike up and then kind of drift, going, a little bit of a dip, a little bit sideways, a little bit up, that kind of thing. This one looked totally different. This was a huge spike, immediate plummet right back down. And it's just interesting. I've got this cyan line on here that it kind of interacted with up here, interacted with down here. I was thinking I would just take this off, but I may leave it on for a little bit more and see if it does any more interacting with this. And then obviously we're right above the 21. We're right above the old all-time high, previous all-time high. We'll see what kind of bouncing we got here. But I mean, this is enough for us to then just reverse and go up. I would anticipate a little bit of some buying going into earnings, but I mean, it by no means has to do that. We're, this is the 4th day after an all-time high. So there's people taking profits. We ended about 200 points lower than the all-time high. That's still not hugely significant. So what is that? 590, a little more than 5%. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a pullback, but Amazon can totally take it. So I want to see a little bit of a rally from here. But right now we're right in between these purple lines. We're right in the middle. This is a great place. Well, actually we're a little closer to the lower one now, but it's a great place to, get the bearings, get a little bit of sideways and bounce and get back up to the top here. But we zoom back out on this. I just think of this one where we pulled back, we're right in the middle and pulled back all the way down here. But that was after we touched this line. We didn't quite touch this line. So either my line is off a little bit, which totally could be, or, maybe we just need a little more to get going back up to it. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Hope this helps. This is Justin Amazon. Thanks.